All right. Unit 8 is a very, very, very long unit. So what we did was we split it up into an 8A and an 8B. So we'll take a test for 8A, then we'll do 8B, and then we'll take a test on that one. So we split up into 2 shorter units. But even this one is still 5 lessons long. So 8A, we're looking at exponential functions. And for 8A1, we're just simplifying and analyzing expressions with exponents. So we're going to review some of our rules of exponents and how to deal with exponents. And then we're going to look at a couple of expressions with exponents, and that's all we're doing today. So example 1, all I want you to do is simplify, which I think you guys can do most of these. So as your warm-up, I'm going to have you guys do all 6 of these in your groups, and then we'll check our answers. Okay, 5 to the 4th power, that's the same as 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. So what did you guys get? 625, good. Okay, what about 3 to the negative 2? What does that negative exponent mean?
It goes to the bottom.
It goes to the denominator, so that's going to be a 1 over 3 squared, which comes out to what? 1 over 9, good. Okay, here's the one that a couple people were forgetting, even though we just did it last week. Anything to the 0 power is what? 1. Why would it be 1? Good question. The exponent means that that's how many times we're multiplying the number by itself, correct?
Yes, so 9.
So if 9 to the 0 means that I am multiplying 9 0 times. So I'm not multiplying 9 at all. So we start with our multiplicative inverse, which is 1. Okay, what about 1 to the 3rd? That's 1 3 times, which is what? 1. Okay. 1 over 6 to the 2nd power. You can do this one of 2 ways. You could do 1 over 6 times 1 over 6. Oops, 16, 6. Or you can distribute the 2 to the top and bottom and get 1 squared over 6 squared. But both of them still come out to what? 1 over 36. Good. And then the last one, 1/3 to the negative 4th. That would be 1 to the negative 4 over 3 to the negative 4. And what do you do with both of those negative exponents? You switch them. So it's 3 to the 4th over 1 to the 4th, which all comes out to 81. Okay. Example 2. I want you to write 16 using a base of 4. Base of 4 means that that's my big number, and then I need to figure out what the exponent is. So 16 is the same as 4 to the what? To the 2nd, which you can also do by breaking down 16 in terms of just 4. Okay? So what I want you guys to do right now is on your own, write 16 using a base of 2. So you know your base has to be 2. So 16 breaks down to 4 and 4, but that's not 2's, so we break it down to 2's. So 16 is 2 to the what? 2 to the 4th power. This is just a start. We're going to actually be using this, okay? But just as a start to practice. Okay, so let's look at a couple expressions with exponents. I am giving you this expression, x to the power of n. And I am telling you that x has to be greater than 1 and n has to be greater than 1. Which multiple choice statement is true? Do not write all of these, but the value of x to the n equals 0. The value of x to the n is greater than 0. The value of x to the n is less than 0. Or the value of x to the n equals 1. So write down the expression and the 2 constraints. So x has to be greater than 1 and n has to be greater than 1. So how do we know which one of these 4 possibilities is true? We'll take our constraints and we'll just pick a number that falls within those constraints. I always like to pick the smallest one possible. So if x has to be greater than 1, what is a number that you guys can think of that is greater than 1? 2. Okay. So we're going to plug in 2 for x, and we'll see what happens. So 2. What about n? N has to be greater than 1. So can you think of an n that is greater than 1? 2 again. So for n, plug in 2 as well. What is 2 to the 2nd? 4. Okay. So looking at our multiple choice answers, x to the n is equal to 0, it is greater than 0, it is less than 0, or it is equal to 1. We plugged in one or two numbers that fulfilled these constraints, and we got a 4. So which one does that fall under? Greater than 0. So no matter what x or n I choose, my answer will always come out to be greater than 0, because we picked the smallest two possible. Okay? So example 5, here's your expression, x to the power of n again. This time, x has to be greater than 1, and n has to equal 0. So there's no other options there for n. So plug in some numbers and figure out which statement is true. So guys, what did you plug in for x? 2. Okay, so that would be 2 to the what? To the 0. What does 2 to the 0 come out to be? 1. So what is your answer? D. So let's think about it. Because your exponent is always going to be 0, it doesn't matter which x you plug in. You will always get 1 as your answer, because anything to the 0 is 1. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay, 2 more. This time I'm giving you an equation, y equals x to the n, so it's really the same thing. But this time, x has to be between 0 and 1, and n has to be greater than 1. So Andrea, actually, she said greater than 0 but less than 1. What can you guys think of that's greater than 0 but less than 1? 0.5, use 1/2 though, okay? Because when we plug in an n, what n can be greater than 1, guys? 2. That's going to be y equals 1/2 squared. It's just easier to square 1/2 than it is to square 0.5. Is it though? It's easier to see, I think. What's 1/2 squared give you? 1/4. Okay. Is 1/4 equal to 0? 1/4, but it's a fraction. So is 1/4 equal to 0? Is it greater than 0 but less than 1? Is it less than 0 or is it equal to 1? B, greater than 0, less than 1. Okay, last one. Here is your equation. Y equals x to the n. X is greater than 1 and n is less than 0. So what kind of number do you have to pick? A negative. So plug them in, see what you get. Guys, what x did you pick? 2. Okay, now n has to be less than 0, so what n did you pick? Negative 1? Okay, so this is going to be y equals 2 to the negative 1. What does a negative exponent mean? You have to move it to the denominator, so that's going to be 1 over 2. So we got 1/2. Where does 1/2 fall between, or fall in? Is it equal to 0, greater than 0, less than 1, less than 0, or equal to 1? B. And you can pick any x that's greater than 1 and any n that's less than 0, and it will always be between 0 and 1. So it really doesn't matter what you pick, as long as you pick something that falls within those requirements. But you could pick x equals 50 if you wanted to. I just like to pick the smallest ones because they're easier to work with. But that's it.